Self-love without accountability is a lie. First, let me define self-love. Self-love is a state of appreciation, affinity, or positive regard to oneself. Self-love has become this thing where it's like, I pardon myself for my bad behavior because I love myself. And I make excuses for the fact that I'm not trying as hard as I need to because I love myself. Cut that. I know that sounds mean. I know it sounds mean, but seriously cut it, because that's not what self-love is. Self-love is having appreciation and affection for yourself. That part is very true. When you are trying to achieve self-love for yourself, appreciation and affection looks like recognizing and appreciating your own skills and value and treating yourself with kindness and compassion. Now, I'm a little gritty sometimes, and I'm working on personal self-compassion, but I'm working on self-compassion after coming from a place of giving myself too much compassion. And what is too much compassion? What does that look like? Too much compassion looks like I set this goal, or I tried to achieve this change in lifestyle and I decide not to do it because I love myself. So that means I don't need to change. Loving yourself does not mean that you don't need to change. Loving yourself means you change to be a better version of yourself. Self-love is also understanding your strengths and weaknesses. It doesn't mean that you need to over-focus on the weaknesses, but it also means that you don't over-focus on the strengths. It means having a realistic idea of both your strengths and your weaknesses. Neither one are overinflated. So you see areas for growth, but you don't necessarily dwell on the flaws either. Self-love, I know I talked about it a little bit ago about compassion. Self-love is very close to self-compassion, which is treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would for a friend. But the thing is, when you have a friend, if you are a good friend, which I'm just going to assume that you are, when your friend is struggling, you help them, but you also guide them with some type of strength sometimes. If your friend is out there acting like a complete dookie head, then you're going to say, hey, as somebody that cares about you, you got to stop doing this. Or you need to figure out a way to change it. Or you would say like, hey, why are you doing this? What's up? Yeah, let's not do that. You know what I mean? The popular phrase, this isn't you, this isn't you. But you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't let that friend just go down this road to their demise, essentially. You would tell them when they're on the way to it, not after it happens. So if you're saying you have self-love for yourself, then you love yourself enough to realize, hey, not everything is perfect, but you also love yourself enough to be kind in how you deal with yourself. Let me tell you a little story time, because literally anything I tell you is going to come from a place of being there or having been there already. So the reason why I'm like, you got to make sure that your self-love is actually self-love and not putting yourself on a pedestal, because at one point I was told, hey, accept yourself. Like, you need to accept yourself. And I was like, oh yeah, I need, self-acceptance, self-love, because I felt like I was ugly, or I felt like I was whatever I had going on, teenager stuff at the time. But that kind of went on a little bit longer than I thought. I was still a teenager, late teens, but I still felt that way. And I was told, hey, self-love, have self-compassion. But the way that I looked at the media and different things like that and how it portrayed self-love, at least on my end, was I'm great, no changes need to be made. When really it was, hey, take care of yourself so that whenever you do need to make changes, it's not abrasive. And it doesn't mean that you're terrible. It doesn't mean that the world is ending, but it means, hey, you have the bones, you have the structure to be here. But if you don't follow these steps, you can't be here. Accepting yourself gets misused all too often. You can accept yourself by accepting, hey, that you have shortcomings, but you are willing to make those changes. Just like in a relationship, you set boundaries with yourself. Don't accept yourself to be at a low space when you know that you can operate at a higher rate. I'm not saying always be on go, but what I mean by that is, if I know that I can be a kind person and right now I'm not being kind, then the idea of self-love would say, hey, I love myself enough to know I don't want to put this out, so I got to fix it. I got to adjust it. Whatever the root is, I need to go ahead and look at that, try to fix it, and then I can be in my natural state of kindness. But the idea of self-love that I've been seeing and the self-love that I was understanding was like, you know what? Well, you don't have to be kind because you're having issues. Yeah, you're not kind right now. Even though you want to be kind, even though you have been kind in the past, you can't be kind right now because somebody stalked you out and somebody's done this. So self-love means I don't need to turn back, and I don't need to. I understand that there are certain boundaries where it's like, oh, I don't look back. But at the same time, if you really want to be true to yourself, then you know, hey, okay, even though I might not like what this person is doing or what this person has done, I will feel better as a person. Being kind to them does not mean that you need to engage with them. like literally ever again if you don't want to. But it does mean that you want to operate in the way that you would be proud of yourself. Self-love is acting in a way that you would be proud of even if you don't like the situation. Even if you're not proud of what you've done in this situation. Continue to act as you would if nothing was wrong. Not saying hiding that something's wrong, but I'm saying if somebody hurt your feelings and they completely, like I said, dog you out or whatever it is, and you respond the same way to them by dogging them out or doing whatever else, and that's not what you would normally do, or if that's not the image that you want to have, then don't do it. That's self-love. Self-love is restraining bad behavior, even though you feel like it's warranted, restraining that bad behavior because you know that's not the version of you that you'd like to see. And this was so hard for me because there are, especially like late high school, there were some different things that I was experiencing, and I just felt like, I felt kind of down about myself. And that's the thing, self-love is not only a pick me up, but it's a standard, if that makes sense. So self-love is not to coddle yourself, but it's rather to give you a hug and pull you up when you're on the ground. The self-love that I saw before, the self-love that I understood before was, oh, the baby, something has happened to you. You don't ever have to get up. You can just stay in this place because I'm here taking care of you. No, the self-love that I understand now, the self-love that I want to share with other people is, hey, I'm giving you a hand to pull you up. This is what you need. I'm giving you a hug. You still need to have self-compassion. Just consistent grind, not caring about yourself is going to get you in a bad place too. Believe me, because I've done it. But giving that hug and continuing to go, that is true self-love. Because specifically, let's talk specifically Gen Z for a second. 70% of Gen Z report feeling unfulfilled despite having a self-care routine. Well, if self-care is self-love and self-compassion, then why is that the case? Because it's still going through the motions. Just because I put on a face mask or just because I dump my face in the ice, I've been seeing that. Like, low-key, I like to do that sometimes. I don't do it very often, but it's kind of fun. But just because you do that doesn't mean that you are fulfilled. You're really just checking off the checklist. So if you are engaging in self-love, true self-love, then that self-care is a reward. So you are already fulfilled. You're not doing it to fulfill yourself. You're already fulfilled with yourself. And then this is almost like a reward, a cherry on top. So what's the solution? True love is showing up for yourself when you don't want to. True self-love is getting up when you don't feel like it. True self-love is understanding that not everything we do is perfect. True self-love is understanding, hey, change is okay. I used to have that issue too. I did not want things to change. Like I would want a result, but I didn't want to change anything else because I was comfortable. True self-love is getting comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes. True self-love is looking around you and caring for the people around you enough to, one, share with them and ask them, how can you be better? Keeping them accountable too. Your friends and the people around you, if they can't be your accountability partner at least a little bit or hold you accountable for the things that you want to keep up with at all, then that's not your buddy. At least not in this season. It doesn't mean that you have to cut everybody off, but there are seasons for everything. There are certain friends that I've had, not necessarily that I've cut them off, but there are certain friends that I've had that were great for a time. They taught me something. I've learned something from them, and probably vice versa, that I don't necessarily talk to now, and nothing bad happened. It's just that different seasons call for different things. So what season are you in? The lie that I had to stop telling myself was that self-love was meant for coddling. Self-love is meant to push you forward lovingly. Tell me in the comments a lie that you want to stop telling yourself. Or something that you didn't even know was a lie. I want you to know that if nobody's told you, I believe in you.